in a sharp and strategic retaliation. Porter. Ukrainian military intelligence confirmed today that drone strikes disabled 2 of Russia's advanced radar systems in occupied Crimea. Porter. These were the Nebo-M and Podlet-K1 radar systems. Both are critical assets in Moscow's layered air defense network. Porter. The strikes were timed precisely. The Nebo-M was hit while being moved. Reporter. And the Podlet-K1 was destroyed by a second suicide drone after the first one missed. Porter. Ukrainian officials say this creates blind corridors in Russia's detection grid. Porter. It opens a gap in Moscow's surveillance and early warning capabilities. It's a clear sign of Ukraine's growing precision and reach. The situation on the ground remains intense. Reporter. Ukraine's general staff reports that in the past 24 hours, there were 184 combat engagements and more than 70 Russian airstrikes. Those attacks included 135 guided bombs, nearly 5,000 artillery shellings, and almost 800 kamikaze drones. Porter. Ukrainian forces struck back. They destroyed 3 artillery units, a radar station, 5 concentrations of troops and equipment. Porter. And a command post. Another major blow came in Donetsk. Porter. Ukraine's National Guard drones destroyed a Russian M1 surface to air missile launcher worth around $10 million. Reporter. First they hit its shelter, then they struck again while the system was being moved. Porter. The M1 can track multiple targets up to 35 kilometers away, so its loss is a serious setback for Russian air defenses. Together, Porter. These actions show Ukraine is eroding the eyes and ears of Russian forces. Reporter. Radar systems provide targeting data for missiles and fighter aircraft. Without them, Russia's ability to react is sharply reduced. Porter. The destruction of the M1 makes the impact even deeper. That's the latest on the Ukraine-Russia war, this 6th September 2025. A reporter. Precision strikes are going straight for the systems that matter most, and Ukraine is making each strike count. Porter. Ukraine is now shifting to what officials describe as a strategy of neutralization. Instead of seeking quick battlefield victories. Porter. The focus is on disrupting supply lines, degrading operational ability, and striking deeper into rear areas. A reporter. President Vladimir Putin has warned that any deployment of Western troops to Ukraine before a peace deal would make them legitimate targets. Porter. His remarks come as 26 European nations pledge to send troops as a reassurance force once the war ends. On the ground, Porter. Russia has massed about 100,000 troops near Pokrovsk in Donetsk. As a reporter. This signals a possible large-scale offensive aimed at securing the remaining parts of the Donbass region. Meanwhile, a reporter. Ukraine's allies are discussing tougher sanctions to squeeze Russia's economy and increase diplomatic pressure to bring Moscow back to negotiations. Porter. Across the front lines, Russian forces continue their assaults in Kharkiv, Luhansk, Donetsk, Zaporizhzhia, and Pokrovsk. Porter. Despite heavy bombardments, territorial gains remain limited, and the lines have largely held steady. Porter. Ukraine is also pushing innovation on the battlefield. Teams are using low-tech but effective countermeasures, like Soviet-era Yak-52 trainer planes. Porter. These are flown by 2-person crews who rely on ground commands and handheld machine guns to intercept Russian drones. Porter. It's now a proven layer in Ukraine's evolving air defense system. At the same time, Porter. Kiev is rolling out new homegrown air-launched 500-kilogram munitions. Porter. These are built for standoff strikes and designed to reduce reliance on Western arms. In diplomacy, a new deal is taking shape. Porter. The U.S. and Ukraine are negotiating a $100 billion weapons purchase agreement. In return, the U.S. Porter. Would secure rights to certain Ukrainian military developments. This marks a deeper strategic partnership. On the global stage, Porter. Ukraine presented its case on human rights abuses in occupied Crimea at the United Nations General Assembly. Porter. Officials are calling attention to violations and demanding international accountability. On the battlefield, Porter. Special forces from the Brotherhood unit carried out a critical defensive action. They stopped a Russian breakthrough in Donetsk, Porter. Meanwhile, Russia claims limited advances across several fronts, including Stepnogorsk, Drobyshevo, and Kupiansk, Porter. But Ukraine continues pushing back. Economically, Ukraine faces a challenge, Porter. An IMF mission has begun work in Kyiv as the country seeks funds to cover its 28-26 budget gap, Porter. Only 1/3 of the required $65 billion has been pledged so far. On the sanctions front, Porter, Ukraine's allies are preparing a new wave of measures to increase pressure on Russia, a reporter. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney said these steps are meant to push Putin toward peace discussions, Porter. Humanitarian operations are also under fire, Porter. A Russian rocket strike near Chernihiv killed 2 Ukrainian mine, clearing workers from the Danish Refugee Council and injured more, Porter. It's a reminder of the daily risks faced by people trying to help civilians, Porter. President Putin's long-term strategy is becoming clear, Porter. He is betting that Ukraine's army will break before Russia's economy does. Although Russia's war machine is still running, Porter, its economy faces shortages and deficits. Experts warn that without sustained Western unity and support, Porter, Putin's calculation could succeed. Ukraine is embracing inventive defense tools and forging deeper ties with the U.S., Porter. Diplomatic pressure is growing, sanctions are tightening, and economic stabilization is urgent. On the front lines, Porter, resilience is key. Special operations, new weapons, and strategic defense under constant fire. At the same time, Porter, Russia is relying on attrition to outlast Ukraine unless the world steps up. Russia may run out of anti-drone missiles, especially those used by Panzer systems, by February 2026. Porter. UK defense analysts warn Ukraine could exploit this weakness and increase strikes on Russian infrastructure. U.S. Porter. And EU leaders are also preparing a new round of economic sanctions. An EU delegation will meet U.S. Porter officials in Washington on September 8 to coordinate tougher measures. Porter. President Zelensky reaffirmed Ukraine's resolve to respond to attacks on its energy infrastructure. Porter. Despite pressure from neighbors like Slovakia, which has been affected by pipeline disruptions. Despite the war continuing, reporter. Peace talks remain stalled. Ukraine's president rejected Putin's offer to meet in Moscow, Porter, insisting the Russian leader come to Kyiv. He accused Putin of using diplomacy as a stalling tactic. In recent weeks, a reporter, Ukraine's front lines have evolved into a lethal kill zone filled with drones. These include strike drones, reconnaissance drones, Porter, and kamikaze UAVs. They are slowing Russian advances and showing Ukraine's growing self-reliance in arms production.